What if your story could be played, not just told? My name's Klaus, and I'm going to show you how you can turn your story, your journey, your creative ideas into engaging, playable experiences that you can share with your audience. I believe games are an untapped medium for creators to share their stories. And it's a shame, really, because games are just so much more interactive and dynamic and engaging than traditional media, like videos, newsletters, blogs, even courses. While interactive, they're just not fun. And that's reflected in the completion numbers, which is something like 30%. But I get it. Games are complicated and they cost a lot of money to develop. There are tools to build games on your own, but even they have very steep learning curves. And you're an expert in a specific field already. You already have to learn how to do video editing, maybe, or writing. Do you really want to spend many hours to learn a new game development platform? Of course not. But if you distill games down to their core, all that you're really left with are the decisions and trade-offs that players need to make and the consequences of those decisions. Be it choosing which resources to harvest in order to be able to craft different gear, or maybe choosing which skills that you want to train up so that you have different capabilities in the game. I want to show you how to break down your story into a series of decisions, consequences, trade-offs, and combine that with game loops, game mechanics, game design principles, and a little bit of narrative to help you make an engaging, enjoyable experience that you can share. My name's Klaus. I'm a longtime software engineer. I spent about 5 years leading development on a half dozen mobile titles, including a cute little casual game, Grumpy Bears, a card deck building game called Minds and Magic, one of my favorites, and Plumber Crack, a game that's as campy as it sounds and surprisingly was our most successful game with tens of millions of downloads. After that, I got into SaaS product development for many years, and now I'm looking to get back into game development. But I didn't want to do these trivial little games or platformers or shooters. I want to do something more meaningful, like simulations or something with a lot of narrative in it. And the existing tools out there for building games, they don't really approach it from that angle. They are very much designed to be building little sprites that are running around and hopping around on the screen and interacting with the world. But decision games can be a lot simpler and built a lot faster. There's a lot of stories that have yet to be told by creators. Unfortunately, the tools aren't really there to make that easy yet, but I'm looking to change that, and I hope you'll join me. I briefly touched earlier on why games are different, what makes them special. I just wanted to dive into that a little bit more. Games give players a safe space to try new ideas, to experiment, to see what works and what doesn't. Games are also a little more accessible for different audience. So maybe there's people that aren't interested in reading a newsletter, but if you provided a game for them, that it'd be a new way for them to interact that could be interesting. We also have the opportunity to add in referral loops into the game that make it very compelling to share with other people, helping to bring some virality to the games. And ultimately, I think there's a good monetization opportunity with games because, well, games are more fun and compelling than a newsletter. People play games for hours versus a video or newsletter. They just watch or read it once. A course, they'll only ever go through a course once, but a game that lets you choose different paths, have some replayability, have story that makes it interesting. These can be pretty powerful in creating a replayable game that keeps your players coming back. Now you might be skeptical. What kind of games can you make just on decision making? Does that sound like a lot of fun? You'd be surprised. One of the most popular games of the last decade is called Heyday, kind of modeled on the original Farmville, which was also very popular. Well, Heyday's been around, like I said, for about 10 years, and it's generated nearly $1 billion in revenue. There's another online fantasy RPG called Elvenor that I recently discovered. It's also been around for about a decade and has generated about 100 million in revenue. And again, these games are just resource management games where you're deciding what gets built, where to build it, what you're producing, what research you invest in to help produce new units and new buildings. So if you have a story that you are interested in turning into a game and you're not quite sure how, I hope you subscribe to this channel and follow me for the next little while as I go through the journey of creating my own game on this platform. And that game that I want to build on this platform is a Kickstarter simulator. I'm planning on running my own Kickstarter for this platform that I'm building, And I figured that as I'm going through the journey and learning what to do and doing my research, to build the game around that, because there's a lot of people who are interested in doing a Kickstarter and they're not sure how or what's involved. It's a question of how much research do you do before you start building your product? Do you hang out on Reddit threads? Do you interview customers? And what do you do for audience building? Do you spend a lot of time on social media and gradually build up? Do you go to conferences, trade shows? Do you throw a lot of money on ads to drive traffic to your waitlist sign up page? How much money do you spend on developing your prototype? These are all the questions that you need to think about as you're building your Kickstarter campaign, and each decision has an impact on the outcome. If you just launch your campaign without any audience building and no research, chances are you're going to fail. And so the game will give people a safe space to try out and figure out what's involved. In future episodes, we're going to look at different game design principles like mastery and progression, pacing strategies, player agency, incentives and rewards. And we're going to look at different game mechanics like quests and exploration, achievements. And we're going to see how we can combine those mechanics and principles with the decisions and trade-offs that we have identified in our story to build a compelling game. And all the while, you can follow along as I apply these principles and mechanics to my own game so you can see how it works. For now, you can just start thinking about what kind of decisions and trade-offs have you needed to make in your journey? Or maybe if you have a story idea, what decisions does your hero need to make? And what does success look like? And how many different paths to success are there? In the very next episode, we're going to dive into the first decision that we're going to make, and that's looking at a time progression mechanic. Do we want to go real time, where you've got little progress bars and things take 5, 10, 20 seconds to complete? Or do we want to go more turn-based, where the player makes all their decisions and then hits a button to end turn and get ready to make their next set of decisions? My name's Klaus Ruba, and I'm on a mission to make game development more accessible to anybody who has a story to share. If this is interesting to you, go to multibit.games to learn more and to sign up for early access through my Kickstarter campaign. If you're a creator, a storyteller, or just have an interesting experience that you want to share in the form of a game, then hit subscribe, because your next story doesn't have to be just told, it can also be played.